Welcome in New York, welcome to Yankee Stadium, and mahalo for those that celebrate Hawaiian Shirt Night. It seems like we're some of the only doofuses that do, I guess.
Maybe one of 6 or 7 total.
There were a few in the press box, which is good.
Yeah.
But we were early to the stadium, and we were like the only guys in them, and nobody else had even heard that Hawaiian Shirt Night was
we were letting NYCFC staff know that it was even a thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
we did just look like 2 guys that showed up to a soccer game together, and we decided to wear Hawaiian shirts together.
To be completely fair and completely honest, this is the first time I've ever even considered wearing a Hawaiian shirt. The first time ever. And I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. I mean, ultimately the night wasn't so Hawaiian. There was a lot of rain. I don't know if that's maybe a big thing about the island, but everything I've seen, it's not rainy there.
There wasn't much happiness either, which I feel like you could tie Hawaiian and happiness together.
There was some happiness. I would say, going into this breakdown and kind of, recording this episode, I thought that I'd be a little bit more pissed off, a little bit more down. But honestly, overall, like my takeaway from the game is that I'm kind of proud of the boys. Super tough to go down that early, a man down, to fight back, to show the togetherness, show the willingness to fight for the shirt. To me, you said it. I don't know if this is really a thing. Maybe we're making it a thing right now. A loss that felt like a win. I think it showed a lot about the team. Typically, we don't come out of breaks long or short very well. I think early on we showed that I don't know, the lack of sharpness, but ultimately the dudes fought.
The vibe is definitely different than I think episodes we typically record after losses, and that speaks to the feelings of us in general about the team. It's insane that we were almost able to overcome Columbus playing with what felt like 2 extra men.
Right.
Not only because Alenic was sent off, but because the refs in general
were pretty trash.
Were just annoying, to say the least. And Columbus did not help at the end of the game. Out of the 14 minutes of stoppage time that we had, I'm not sure that we played 7 of them. So I guess that's what you do when you're a championship football team. Obviously, they're the defending MLS Cup champions, but we knew it was going to be tough, and I think we gave it our best shot, but circumstances kind of made it unnecessarily hard. Alenic, obviously, early on in the game, looked like he was going to have a tough night. I didn't realize at the time that it was going to be as tough for him as it ended up being. You just can't shove Cucho in the back when you're the last guy. They're going to get rid of you for it. And then we see another shove in the back, which, I mean, to call it that when it was so not clear and obvious, and we have Keaton screaming at the ref, how is it clear? How is it clear?
Yeah.
Like, how is it obvious?
I mean, it took 6-7 minutes to come to that decision.
4 camera angles, 500% zoom on slow motion.
Right.
And, you can apply, at that point, when you've altered the footage to that degree, you could apply whatever narrative you want to it. And unfortunately, the refs, I think, in that scenario, wanted to give Columbus that penalty. So.
Right. I mean, there's a lot to say about the refs and kind of how they performed. Unfortunately, I think the boys in blue gave them opportunities to give 50-50 calls. And when you do that so often, you can't expect to always get the good end of it. The Alenic call, I think that can go either way. If it wasn't called a foul, I really wouldn't be mad. If it was shoe on the other foot, if it was Columbus defender, give it Multe or something like that, doing the same exact thing, and it wasn't called a foul, would I be angry? Probably. Would I really cry over it? I don't think so. I think it was kind of one of those things where it's subjective. But Alenic, you simply can't put a referee in a position where it's a 50-50 call.
And the truth is, it's beyond just that moment with Alenic too. Early on in the game, I think the jury is still out for us because we haven't got to see replays of that save or potential off-the-line clearance that Alenic had. But that was birthed from Alenic just leaving his man kind of to himself on that back post, which is something we haven't talked about, a person getting left on the back post in what feels like 2 months now since we started
Right.
our good form. But that's something that we constantly saw, and it reminded me tonight that why we used to see that all the time was because at the time, Alenic had the reins to right back. We
Yep.
hadn't gotten into this part of the season where we've seen Tavon completely take over. And now that Alenic is back in, these same issues have arisen in this game. So he creates that opportunity for Columbus, and then I believe there was a third one
Right.
where it was a much similar situation where he's just allowing his men kind of to play free because he's biting on something that is unrelated to the position that he's supposed to be in.
Right.
So you hate to put it all on one player,
Right.
but if you really had to highlight kind of a poor performance that led to us losing the 3 points at home, when you go off
Yeah.
in the 35th minute or 30th minute, whatever it was, you're really doing a disservice to the other 10 men on the field.
Right. And you know, granted, he shouldn't be left as the lone defender
That's fair.
in that position. So I think the team has to take that one on the chin for putting him in that position where you're the last defender. You have to sprint as fast as you can and do whatever you can to stop this goal. Ultimately, he did stop the goal at the moment. He did his job, but at the end of the day, it's foolish to put yourself in that situation where you're letting a ref make a decision that not only dictates your game, but the rest of the team's game.
Right.
And you look at his game going forward, he really wasn't effective, you know, putting balls over, just ultimately not the performance that you wanted, but he didn't have the rest of the 90 to grow into the game like the rest of the team did, because you can look at the first half, the first 30, 40 minutes, and there really wasn't a single player on the field that you can point at and be like, you know, that person's settled, this person's having a good game.
Right.
There were sparks of good moments. You know, obviously Ojeda getting the goal, that was a spark. There were sparks here and there, but ultimately you couldn't look at a player and be like, okay, that guy's leading this team. Outside of Freese. Freese was standing on his head.
Yeah, Freese's ability, and I heard from people watching at home that on the broadcast they were talking about Columbus's keeper and that Schulte is getting looked at by Manchester United, which is a wild, and kind of when you look at the two guys on each side of the field, Freese is the guy that should be getting those looks, whether it's the national team. I feel like we started that conversation months ago, and we've been trying to peddle that narrative for a while now, and he has done nothing but show that he has the opportunity to kind of become that next guy. Maybe he is the guy that leaves in the summer at some point or over the winter break, as opposed to an attacker, which is what we've kind of been known for as a club, is shipping out these goal scorers or these wingers that are really great on the ball. Maybe it's time we get our or our goalkeeper action, which has helped MLS teams get huge transfer fees going off to the Prem or wherever in Europe.
I mean, as a you know, Manchester United fan, I've never heard of the guy. And I'm pretty deep in the trenches. I'm deep in the trenches in NYCFC, but I'm pretty deep in the Man U trenches. Never heard of the guy.
Never heard that rumor.
So I don't know if you know, the broadcasters just didn't really have much to talk about at the time. I don't know what it was. But ultimately, you know, we end 3-2. What's your overall view of this team, where they're at and kind of where they're going?
I think we didn't take as much of a hit from the break that we're used to. I felt like in the first half, before we got our goal, when Santi pinged that bar off the crossbar, that was a moment of tension releasing from the 11, or from the 10, because Alenic was not there.
Yep.
It felt like tension released, and we were like, oh yeah, we can score. We were just very close there. Let's continue that momentum. And then we go on and we do get that Ojeda goal. And at that point, we're only down 1, and it feels like Maxi can come in at a minute or at a moment where he can help this team do something. And ultimately, he does end up doing it. But it was too little, too late. The ref obviously called back that decision. We thought in the stadium that they were going to review whatever their right back's name was, bodying up Maxi. He didn't play the ball. He dropped a shoulder on him and just cleaned him out. And then they immediately go to VAR. And to the dismay of everybody in the stadium, obviously they're pulling it back 2-3 minutes to Hannes pushing a guy in the back. and they ultimately award that opportunity. So I think at that point the wheels kind of came off. It felt like the game was dead, and the fact that we were able to be competitive for the rest of it, down a man, was impressive. I don't think we lost a step from the form that we were on prior to the break.
And to me, you could argue that NYCFC was the better team at times and could have been winning that game. You know, even a man down, you think of the Malachi shot.
Right.
You think of you know, the foul on that Maxi committed that, you know, Perea was in somewhat of a good position to maybe get the ball played across goal. The McFarland across goal. There's all of these moments where you look at it and think that could have been the goal that brought us level. You know, had we gotten a point out of this, I mean, you would have to throw Nick a parade at this point.
Yeah.
And a lot of the subs, I was looking at them and thinking, what is happening? But at this point, I think we all have to hold our hands up and let Nick cook, honestly. I mean, there's decisions that he makes that I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from. You know, debuting McFarland under that much pressure
is wild.
Is really wild.
And to make a defensive sub and have the person coming out not be Tanas Ahevic,
right,
who's on a yellow and plays like a bull in a china shop.
In other words, bad.
Yeah, I think we had not necessarily bad, but just as like a bruiser that's gonna just run at the other team and clean them out, football tackle them at times. And
I saw him bear crawl today.
It's going to be up to the ref to decide whether or not he gets to play the rest of the game.
Like Phil Jones bear crawling to the ball.
Let that breathe.
Let that breathe. You know, we come out of this game, I wouldn't say unscathed, because now we're going to be down, you know, a right back. We're going to be down. Did somebody get injured or no? But down a fullback who's
down a fullback at this point
has been a body, but
it's horrible.
Is really bad because it's going to force O'Toole either to come back too early or force McFarland to get his first MLS start. Neither of which I think are good when you're looking at them.
And it's worth talking about the injuries on the team right now, or the absences. I think
Thiago
when we
Martins.
looked up at the lineup when it first dropped, we kind of glazed over the fact that Baki was not even a part of it. And I think we talked to each other in the first half like, oh, let's wait until we get to see Maxi and Baki together. And then we see Baki down in the hospitality suite with O'Toole, and we're like, holy shit, Baki's not available.
Secret agent Jason
was in the building tonight.
Jason was in the building.
Has to be said.
I wish I bumped into him. Honestly, like once we go record, I want to go downstairs and see if we can bump into him.
Yeah. So he was in the building, but that was like a moment for us. Baki is not in the 18, and Jovan is warming up on the sideline over there, and we could see Jovan in this game. Luckily, we didn't.
He kind of early in warm-ups, I should say, when he first came out and everyone was going to the field, is something that I caught that I don't know that many people saw. He looked up to the family section and went like this. I think that was him telling his family he's not coming into the game. Today.
Maybe Grammy was in the building.
Yeah,
bro. She gets loud on Instagram.
Yeah.
He just wanted to let her know, like, it's going to be a boring 90 minutes for the
even if he was on the field, it wouldn't.
Jovan family.
If he was on the field, it would look like he is not on the field. That's why I said, if we sub on Jovan, it's going to feel like we have 9 men. Because what is he going to do? And we would have lost that Santi moment because Santi was at the 9.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about that moment. There needs to be, certainly in this episode, a conversation about Maxi. Not a conversation, just a shout out, I guess. His vision at times is unbelievable. The way that he can find things that we can't even see up here from a bird's eye view, seeing all 22 play, like he will pick out passes that
with his back turned
are seemingly impossible.
Yeah.
And he does it in a split second. He does it with accuracy that is just incredible. And I think I turned to you during the Santi celebration after his goal, and I just go, so this is how Tati got his 19 goals.
Yes.
That Maxi was a massive part of that. And hopefully he can form a partnership with Alonso or that continues to flourish. Obviously, it wasn't all there today for Alonso, but he didn't have Maxi to lean on either.
And he didn't have a 10-man system and things like that.
The whole system was screwed from the start.
Yeah.
Screwed from the 30th.
I think of the story that a player told about Pirlo back in the day, in that, you know, somebody was very rambunctious and they would scream like, I'm open, I'm open, I'm open. And there's a language barrier. So Pirlo told a teammate to tell him, you don't have to scream at me. If you are on the field, I will see you. And that is the exact energy that Maxi brings to this team.
And what it made me think of too, him dishing that up to Santi and Santi scoring was last game when Alonso got that hat trick. It felt like, is it Alonso or is it Maxi? And obviously there was a ton of praise for both of them. But similar to like the Tom Brady and Belichick situation, it's like, was it me or was it me? Or was it us? Like, when Maxi's on the field, Maxi is saying, it was me. It was Maxi, because Maxi is just bringing this class to the field and leadership, too, that is unmatched. And what he's going to do for this team as we run to the end of the season, and
as he gets more and more fit.
At some point, if he can become a starting player that's putting in, like, a first 75-minute shift, that may give us 2-3-0 cushions, 3-1 cushions that we can kind of close games out with the younger guys. So.
And to me, you know, we were sitting next to the City Boys, and I looked over at them and I told them, like, I hate how much confidence I have in Maxi, because you're kind of signing up to be disappointed at certain points. Mm-hmm. But I truly believe that with Maxi on the field, we are never out of a game.
Yeah. Ever. There was a moment, you know, first 10 minutes when he's in and it's not immediately to that Messi type performance. You're like, oh man, we kind of got too ahead of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you start thinking that, he plays that insane ball against the run and play up to Santi. So yeah, you are never out of it when he's on the field, and when he has weapons to dish it to, anything's possible at that point.
So my summary of the game, I guess, would be hard to be upset when you've won 5 straight and you're going against the defending champions to break a franchise record. Mm-hmm. Very, very difficult, especially when you go down before halftime, fight back, get within a goal, look very, very dangerous, look locked in, look mentally sound, look together as a team. It's very, very hard to be upset, and I'd be shocked that on the way home if I look at my phone and there's people upset.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked.
I think it's just worth reiterating the rare, maybe created tonight feeling that it's a loss that almost felt like a win, because we were able to fight through adversity and just weren't able to get that last moment that would propel us there. And you know, there were decisions made by the referees that otherwise would have allowed us to get a point if the pushing in the back by Hannes thing wasn't called 5 minutes late. Yep. So I'm happy with the performance. I think
what a game.
Yeah, a very entertaining game to watch. 14 minutes of stoppage time is like peak MLS sicko, what you pray for when you go to an MLS game to get your price of the ticket.
To be fair, anything less, I would have been in the parking lot looking for that referee.
For the VAR official.
Because, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So on Wednesday, we have LA Galaxy. Yep. We have them away. And there are counterparts, I guess you could say, on the Western Conference side. We're in 4th place on the Eastern Conference. They're in 4th on the Western, so definitely not a slouch of a team, and I think they're expecting more firepower in the summer, but they don't have it yet. But that is likely to be a tough game too. It sounded like there was some chatter in the cafeteria here that Kevin O'Toole did not go today so that he could be ready for Wednesday.
Or that he's hoping for Wednesday.
Yeah. It is worth saying that I think the opinion of physios and the player that is injured do not align ever. And to speak to that directly, after the game last game before the break,
Thiago,
we asked Thiago, "Are you good? Like, is everything all good?" He goes, "I'm not gonna miss any time."
Yeah, and immediately
brother's on the injury report
after a week off.
After a week off, after a week of vacationing.
Right.
So who knows if what Kevin is saying is true? If it's just optimism, obviously he would probably go out there and play with a broken leg if somebody let him. I think all the players on our team are at that point. and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens in the game. I'm excited for every game now, and I felt like that wasn't the feeling early April, late March.
I'm also very, very happy that even though we'll be getting home at
like 3 a.m.
3 a.m., we don't have to work tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We get a full weekend. Well, I technically have to work.
Right.
It's not real work.
Yeah.
Calling it work is
I mean, I don't work
disrespectful
again
to work
until next Thursday.
I don't want to hear you say that again out loud. Keep that inside. But yeah, I mean, that's episode...
It could be anything. It could be 131, or it couldn't be anything. It could be 131 or 132.
Episode 131.
131.
I know it is 131. As we said, it's kind of special last episode.
Yeah. So...
Episode 131.
No confirmation on whether it was a raccoon or a large squirrel in the ceiling of the studio.
Hard to know.
Anderer from Blue City Radio let us know that it could just be a fat squirrel. Because raccoons are 30 pounds, and we would have known if it was a raccoon.
Although, I do have a video. I don't know if it'll be shown. I do have a video of a raccoon running directly at me in our parking lot.
Yes.
So... anything's possible.
There are raccoons on the premises. That
I know for sure.
Admitted, yeah. So maybe more to come on that at some point whenever we're back in the stew. Otherwise, you won't hear from us after LA unless the world burns down, or who knows, something extreme would have to happen for you to hear from us after LA. Instead, we'll probably push it to the game after that, which I believe, if I could get the schedule up, is Nashville, which is also going to be a tough game.
That's Saturday?
Next Saturday we have Nashville, and it's also going to be away.
That would be next Saturday.
And it sounds like they also want to hire BJ Callahan from the men's national team. Obviously the guy that I think all of us would prefer to be in charge of the men's national team at this point.
Yeah.
But who knows if that'll be something that goes into effect beforehand. I hope not, because otherwise they are
cooked.
Yeah, they're in trouble. They're still a good team, but obviously managerless or long-term managerless can have an effect. So a little tough run of a few away games here, but at this point I don't feel fully out of it until you show me it's 90 minutes and we've lost.
Right.
And that's as happy as I could be with the team at the moment.
It is a tough run of opponents, just to be completely honest, but we built a little bit of cushion. We built a little bit of, wiggle room to have some hiccups here and there. The team we saw out there is going to fight, and I believe in them. So let's go get a dub.
For the second time, this is episode 131.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.